Hey everyone, welcome to our July Database Security Office Hours on the Ask Tom platform. I'm your host. My name is Richard Evans. I'm a product manager of Oracle Database Security. Welcome. Thanks for joining us, and welcome to my colleagues and friends who are co-hosting with me today. Nazia. Nazia is the product manager of Audit Vault and Database Firewall. And Russ is our vice president of product management, who has the pleasure of owning all of these exciting features and capabilities of database security. So welcome, guys. This call is being recorded and it will be available on Ask Tom probably early next week. I'm going to try to get it processed as soon as I can and then get it over to the team and they'll get it published. We've got 3+ years of videos out there on basically everything database security related. If we've missed a subject or a topic, let us know. We'd love to do something different. We're always looking for new ideas. This is your presentation, so if you've not joined us before, welcome. We hold this session on the second Wednesday of every month at 10 a.m. U.S. Central. Regardless of time zone, time changes, we try to keep it consistent U.S. Central. We have announcements, we have a technical topic, and then we have Q&A opportunity at the end. You're welcome to put your questions in the Q&A box at any time. If we can answer them as we go, we will in the chat. If not, we'll take them at the end. But yeah, any topic is available. We may not be able to answer it on this call, but we can follow up with you after the call as well. Some announcements here. I try to put everything on this GitHub repository, and I'll include this in the Zoom chat. So I try to put links and notes and things here so you don't have to worry about recording these things. You can just click on that link, hopefully, that takes you to the GitHub repository. There's a couple years worth of kind of cheat sheets and notes out there from our previous session. Patches are coming up soon, so please make sure you stay on top of your patches. Quarterly patches should be released probably next week or so. It's very important to stay on top of those. The moment that patches are released is when you see an uptick, an increase in attacks against those vulnerabilities or those opportunities for hackers, right? So stay on top of your quarterly patching as much as possible. If you're using real application clusters, check out fleet patching and provisioning to create gold images of your grid infrastructure as well as your database. You can go to support.oracle.com and look at the proactive patching documentation. And Mike Dietrich's the expert on all of this. So anything patching or upgrading, check out Mike Dietrich's blog at mikedietrichde.com. Okay? For today's conversation, Nazia is going to talk about Audit Vault and Database Firewall. They try really hard to keep the documentation up to date. You can go out there and check out the new features and kind of capabilities in Audit Vault 12.2 or 12, what am I saying? 20.12. 20.12 is the latest release update. Check out the documentation on that and kind of getting started with it, deploying targets, managing it. If there's any feedback you have, you can click that feedback or you can send us an email and say, hey, I'm not real sure about this part. Like, I want to do this, but it says that. Like, is there a discrepancy there? Let us know. We've read these documents so many times. We overlook typos that have been there for years, okay? To get started with Audit Vault Database Firewall, you download the ISOs from the Oracle Software Delivery Cloud, edelivery.oracle.com. If you're upgrading, you go to My Oracle Support, and you can check out that patch number on the screen to download the latest release update. And if you just want to try it in the cloud marketplace, you can go to the Oracle Cloud Marketplace and spin it up in your OCI tenancy in just a few minutes there. And as always, check out the My Oracle Support notes. There's a couple primary ones here related to kind of all the notes that are out there for AVDF, as well as kind of the release and support status of the environment. So keep an eye on those My Oracle Support notes. And then you can always use Live Labs. This is a great place to get started. You can get your hands on Audit Vault and Database Firewall, Database Vault, Data Redaction, TLS, Key Vault, TDE, just about everything we offer. You can get hands-on with it. And most of them you can do on our dime. So go check out the AVDF lab. Nazia and team have updated this for some of the highlights in 20.12 as well. I got that number right this time, 20.12. And so you can walk through a very robust hands-on lab for Audit Vault and Database Firewall. Okay. And I already kind of said this part, but we've got 40 plus security related labs out there. More than half of them you can do on Oracle's dime. You can go kick the tires on Audit Vault, Database Firewall, Database Vault, TDE, Key Vault, like pretty much you name it, you can get your hands on it on live labs. Okay. And finally, join the three of us at Cloud World. Russ, Nazia, and I are all going to be out in Las Vegas, September 9th through 12th for Oracle Cloud World. And we're going to have presentations, hands-on labs available for you. There's a QR code on the screen for you to register, or you can go to oracle.com/cloudworld to register to join us at Cloud World 2024 in Vegas. Pretty exciting. All right, Russ, let's kick it over to you, sir.
Hi, everyone. As Rich said, I'm Russ Lowenthal. I get the honor of working with Rich and Nazia on a day-to-day basis. And Rich was kind enough to give me a couple of minutes today to talk about continuing database security education. And this is always, I think, a challenge for those of us in the industry because everything moves so quickly. How do you stay current? This is not new. Way back, Heraclitus said there's nothing permanent except change. Benjamin Franklin said, when you're finished changing, you're finished. Go to the early last century. Henry Ford said the greatest thing in life to keep your mind young basically is to keep learning. But of course, the best and most important quote is that Oracle Database 23 AI is a game changer for everybody worldwide. We only released long-term versions of the database every 5 years, 6 years or so. There's a long time between these releases. 23 AI is no difference. Hopefully, most of you joined us last month. If you didn't, I really encourage you to watch the recording. Rich had Alan Williams on, and the two of them really just kind of scratched the surface of what's there in 23 AI. There are a lot of new features there beyond just what they talked about. So you may wonder, how do you stay up to date with them? Well, one way is doing exactly what you're doing now, office hours. All right. We go through, I won't say a lot of trouble, but we try and keep a consistent cadence. I think really the only time we miss is when office hours falls during Cloud World. And even then, Rich really tries really hard to keep it going. Database World, Cloud World, I'm using the terms interchangeably, but Oracle conferences like Database World or Cloud World are a good way to stay up to date if you have the opportunity to go. User groups, a lot of us forget about users groups, but there are really great active users groups out there that have presenters, not just from Oracle, but from Oracle partners, from their own members. And some of those are just really outstanding content. You can do it the old school way. There's documentation, there's blogs. There's a little trick I want to show you in the documentation. Won't take but just a second here. If you go to docs.oracle.com, and I'm taking you from the very start instead of having this already up and running so you can see how to get there, and you go to the Oracle Database documentation, right here under Learn About Oracle Database is the Database Features and Licensing app. Now, this is a great, and of course, that's what I get for not having it done.
Live demos.
Live demos indeed. Okay, so we'll try this. There we go. All right, so you go to the Features and Licensing app. And when you get to the Features and Licensing app, it's a great resource for figuring out, what's free, what goes in an option or something like that. But there's a feature you may not have seen. If you were to go through and say, I want to see what's new in 23 AI, and I just want to see the new stuff, then what you get is the opportunity to look into 327 different features. Now, of course, the most important thing in the database, the one you should all be worried about, is security. So you can narrow that down. And you can see that there are 39 different features. We didn't cover all 39 last month. There's no way we could have. But for each of these, you can get into the documentation, you can read about it, but this is just a great way to get a feel for what's new. So documentation helps, blogs, The Oracle blog channel, again, we try not to publish too often because we know everybody is, overwhelmed. There's so many blogs out there, but do monitor our blog channel. Live Labs is perhaps your most important resource because everything else is reading about it. Live Labs is where you get to practice on it. And when Rich talks about on our dime, when you go into Live Labs, you have a choice. Most labs, you have a choice, not all. For most labs, you can either run it on the Oracle Sandbox, which means you're running it in our OCI tenancy using our resources, zero cost to you. That's what Rich means by on our dime. You can also choose to run it in your own tenancy if you have one. The advantage to running it on our sandbox is, hey, it's free. Can't beat free. The advantage to running it in your tenancy is you're not getting a time-bound lease, because when you run it in ours, you have so long to complete it, and then we have to recover those resources. The reality is a lot of people go in, they start a lab, they get to just what they're trying to figure out, and then they end it, but they never go through and actually delete the resources. So we do automatically clean those up after a certain amount of time. You can extend it a few times, but it's going to end at some point. So again, Live Labs, Oracle free tier. For the docs, if I go back to the documentation, docs.oracle.com, we'll get back to the Oracle database. We go into 23AI and we say, let's browse the bookshelf. Now, there's only 1 or 2 manuals that you need to look at here, 1 or 200 manuals. But the one book, if you only read one book, is the New Features Guide. There it is. So do take a look at the New Features Guide, and the New Features Guide is really long. So if you only read one chapter, make sure you read chapter 9. Everything else is important too, but make sure you read chapter 9. You won't find everything here, but you'll find most things here. Almost every single manual will have a section in it called Getting Started. In there, we'll also talk about what's new, but the documentation is a great way to find out what's going on. And believe it or not, we, the product managers, we read that documentation, reread it. We make recommendations to change it. We've just recently completed almost a 100% review of all of the security documentation. I'm not going to say we've got it perfect. I'm not going to say there's never an error in there. There are so many manuals and so many pages, but we do our best to try and give you good, clear documentation with easy to follow stuff. I'll come back to Live Labs again, hands-on. And with that, I know I went a little bit over, Rich. Thank you so much, Nazia. Sorry for stealing a few minutes of your time. But do go back. If you didn't attend last month, watch the recording and let me know what you think about 23AI. We're really proud to get this release out the door.
Thanks, Russ. All right, let's get over to Nazia, where she's going to talk about Audit Vault and Database Firewall.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Welcome. So today's main topic that we are going to discuss is how you can streamline the deployment of the latest release updates. So with AVDF 20, we come up with patch or release update every 3 to 5 months. So I will talk about how we can streamline, what are the do's and don'ts when you are applying package, and most importantly, why you should apply a release update. And recently, a couple of weeks back, we have released our latest dot release, that's release update 12. So I will give you some highlights of RU12 as well. Okay, so agenda is like I will cover some 20.12 highlights, followed by one of the very important feature that we introduced in 2012 is database discovery. It's been asked by multiple customers because their regulators or auditors, they were asking for that kind of a functionality. And so that's something we worked on, and we have introduced that feature in RU12. So I'll give you demo of that. Then finally, we will talk about how you can streamline application of latest release updates, followed by summary. So highlights of 20.12. You're right, Rich. I mean, saying 20.12 is not that easy. So yeah, so highlights of 20.12 is so main focus for this release was security and stability fixes. Okay, because usually we get a lot of customer reported bugs or internal reported bugs, and we wanted to make sure that our user experience should enhance, should be improved, and our development team main focus was if there are some not only P1s but even P2 or P3 bugs are there. So development team has put a lot of effort and time in fixing those bugs. Maybe customer might, not even encounter that bug, because sometimes those internally found bugs are in very, very rare situation. And I would say 99.9% times I have seen that it's not found at customer environment, some of them. And but this release was more focused on security and stability. However, while team worked on that part, we also introduced or released a very important feature, which is like discover unmonitored databases. So that's one of the important one, and I will talk about that. The other feature that we introduced in this particular RU is that centralized view of enabled audit policies. This particular feature, I would say this is more an enhancement being asked by different customers, because currently till now whatever the audit policy they have to go and see from the individual target perspective. So I will show some screenshot around that. And there is another feature that, not feature again, it's an enhancement that we introduce, is like in many scenarios when you are applying patch or customer is introducing new network interface and their device name is getting changed, especially from if you have deployed database firewall. Okay, this is more from the database firewall perspective. So earlier customer had to go and really fix in the configuration file, change that device name, etc. So that's something we have enhanced and we are providing from UI side. But I would say that this is hero item for 20.12. So discover unmonitored database. Why we introduce this feature? Because we need to make sure that there are no security gaps when it comes to monitoring or activity monitoring across your network or databases, right? Or if there is, so whether there could be chances that you have you are already monitoring some of the target, but some targets are there, and let's say the team is not aware. It could be because of merger and acquisitions. You don't know that what all other targets are there. So can I see that, okay, what are those other targets which we are not monitoring? Or even the first step, when you are deploying AVDF, you don't know. You want to see that what all targets are there, databases are there that you want to monitor. So discovering those targets and reducing the gap in your security monitoring, it's one thing. A lot of time you have rogue or dormant databases sitting in your network, and we all know that dormant database or ideal databases, most of the time there is no prevention or monitoring kind or of a defense in depth you have implemented for those kind of a target. They are kind of a forgotten databases, and they become a prime point of entry for any threat, right? So identifying those kind of databases as well in your environment. So what we have done is that, so whether it is AVDF or anybody else in that solution area, when it comes to discovering databases over the network, everyone actually uses Nmap scan kind of a capability. But what we have done is that, and that's an intentional step that we have taken, that we kind of decoupled the scan capability. And after a scan, whatever the result is there, then you do analysis on that. For example, what's been monitored, what's been already monitored, what is not monitored, what type of database it is, which database, what are the other details. So doing that kind of analysis, okay, from the solution. So we purposely decoupled that process. We are letting customer run their Nmap scan, because it's in many organizations, they do not even allow it. And even if they run Nmap kind of a scan, they do it in some controlled manner. So we don't want to do it from our solution perspective, okay, from AVDF directly. So we are giving flexibility to customer that you run it on your comfort whenever you want to run it, in whichever control environment you want to run Nmap scan, you do that. So we let you run that Nmap scan, and once you have discovered, let's say, from the range of IP addresses or range of ports, once you have discovered whatever the number of targets, whatever the scan you have run, you have identified some scan is there, and then what you can do is that there is an XML file created, okay? Now that XML file, what you can do is that you can import that Nmap as a XML file in AVDF using database discovery feature. And once you upload that, you get a more detail, like what database type it is, and IP and port, and a lot of other information. So once I'll give you demo, I will talk about more about this feature. Another feature which I was talking about is centralized view of enabled audit policy. So till now, whatever the target you register, okay, independent PDBs, or you register a one database, but if you have to see that what all audit policies, Oracle audit policies, are enabled on that particular target. So you can just have a one particular target view with RU12, because a lot of customers were asking, and same like their auditors were asking, that they want to have a single view or a fleet-wide view of all the audit policies enabled across their all Oracle targets in one single report. So that's something we have introduced in RU12. So you have, we are giving you container-wise report with their respective PDBs, and letting you know whether this audit policy is basically common or local to, let's say, PDB, or it's common between the container and the PDB, okay? So giving you that information as well. So that's kind of enhancement we have done from the reporting of enabled audit policies on Oracle database perspective. Okay, so let's see demo of main feature, that discovery feature I was talking about. So what we have done from the separation of duty perspective, that functionality is mainly available with the admin, super admin. So I have logged in at super admin. If you go to targets, and under target, we have added database discovery here, okay? So you click on database discovery. When you come first time, you will not have any list here. You will not see anything here. And so this report will be empty. You will not have anything here. Yeah, so this report will be empty. You will not have anything here. And once you click on import Nmap XML, then you will have you can have your XML file uploaded here. So for example, I click here, I have one sample XML, but it is same actually what we have done already. So it might just replace it. There is nothing new will come up. So you do that. By default, what we are doing, so we are giving, definitely there is one thing, that whether this target is registered or not. So by default report is showing that if target is not registered, because you are interested in those targets, right? Because you want to register those targets. There's another functionality what we have introduced is hidden or not hidden. So let's say if in one scan, you have found 50 targets or 50 databases. You are not going to register all 50 in one, right? But you might review it, and out of 50, you feel that, oh, 30 targets or 20 targets are, let's say, a test target, UAT target, not available to external world, and etc. Right? So you don't want to, it doesn't fall under AVDF scope, or at least it doesn't fall in this phase, right? So what you can do, rather than every coming back and from that scan looking at all 50 targets, you just click all those 30 or 25 targets and you say that I want to hide those targets. So when next time I come here, I don't want to see it. Okay. But what we are saying, that we are letting you add some comments so that you remember why you have, you don't want to see that particular target in your discovery report. So that's something you can do that. That's the flexibility we are giving you. If you want to permanently delete that particular target from your discovery report, you can even do that. And all that is given to super admin. Another interesting feature that we have introduced is assign admin. Okay, so what it is? Technically and by design, let's say this target can be registered by super admin directly, right? So, and when I will click here as register, then the registration page workflow will start with the basic information that we have captured from our discovery. For example, what type of database, IP, and the port, and then rest of the information customer needs to provide. Now, what happens, AVDF has a target group concept as well, right? So for example, I can create a group of target and I say that these are GDPR or PCI target, etc. And let's say I have done in my organization further separation of duty, and there are admins, okay? And there also we have that separation of duty or a capability in AVDF where you say that so-and-so admin is owner of this target group, right? So what we are doing here, super admin can select, let's say, okay, I have one user who is managing all my MySQL. So let that user register all these targets. I'm not going to register. So what I can do, I can select all these target and I say assign admin, and whatever other admin as well as super admin, if I have, I can go and assign that to this particular user. So let's say if I go and assign these two MySQL targets to Nazia, and I will log out from here, and then you log in back with Nazia. And now Nazia is not super admin, it's just an admin. I can show you in my admin roles, but yeah, so Nazia is admin, and so Nazia doesn't have all the capability from discovery perspective, for example, importing XML file or deleting from this particular list. But yeah, this admin user does have some capability which are not very harmful. Is like show and hide, which is not really deleting everything, but it's just from discovery report perspective, much easier that I don't want to include this in my future, when I'm coming back again to register my set of, let's say, 10 or 15 targets, I don't want to see them. So you can do show and hide, and you can register those targets. So that's what that's the role we have given to admin user. However, super admin will have more capabilities from the discovery perspective. Okay, so if you want, you can, by default, these are the column being shown. If you want, sorry, you can add more columns like hidden and is registered as well, so that in one go you have this information as well. Okay, another functionality that I was talking about, showing all audit policies container-wise across target and PDBs. So if you go to, if you go to policies, audit policy, earlier, before 20.12, if you click on PDB1, you can go and see enabled audit policies like that, okay? Now what we have done is that here on this audit policy page itself, you have something called view policy. Either you can see view policy for individual target which are registered, or you select all and you see view policies, right? And now if you, so with this report, you will have one fleet-wide single centralized view of all enabled audit policies across your Oracle registered targets. So it says, okay, this is the container and is enabled and other details and the policy name, and same with other target as well. Okay, so that's another thing that we have added here. So let's go back to our presentation. Okay, so another topic that I wanted to highlight and talk about is that how you can streamline deployment of latest release update, how you can streamline that process. So very first thing that we need to understand why you need to apply each and every release update, why you have to be on the latest release update. And that's very important. AVDF is a security solution, right? So it's very important that we make sure that that solution itself doesn't have gaps from the security perspective. So every release update has latest Oracle database release update, because AVDF software appliance, its embedded database is Oracle, and embedded operating system is Oracle Linux. So we make sure with every release you have latest database patch applied to your appliance, as well as latest operating system patches applied to your appliance. We also make sure all the reported CVs are fixed, and as well as if there is any other security improvements are required, we make sure that with every release that goes with our latest release, right? The second part, which is very important, is stability. Earlier also, I said that, this release in particular, we focus a lot on the stability. So there are, with every release, there are some customer reported bugs or internally reported bugs, right? So with every release, we try to at least do P1s if that release doesn't have a lot of new feature. But I would say that, every second release, we just, or every alternate release, we just focus on fixing all the reported bugs rather than, putting development time into developing new features. So stability is a very important part, and that's what, so every release is more stable than the previous one, I would say that in that way. And other part is new features. So sometimes our dot releases are just not a dot release. For example, just updating the embedded system platform, as well as just fixing the bugs, but we come up with a lot of new features. So we have I would say, good balance of new feature, customer enhancement, what customer, if you are using AVDF day in, day out, you have a lot of enhancement requests as well. And I would say that I think in our database security portfolio, we have the most enhancement requests, because customers are using it, they are giving their feedback, what auditors are asking, what they feel they wanted, extensively used solution. And I would say that this is a kind of solution where you can really do a lot of things, right? So yeah, so we get very, very good innovative enhancement requests, and we try to work on those enhancement requests as well as stability. There are features we try to include whenever there is a new compliance requirement. So we try to include those features also in our release update. So these are the, I would say, 3 major reasons that you should be on the latest release update. Like I said, 20.12, our main focus was stability and security. And that's why I can say that 20.12 is the most stable release. And if you haven't already applied it, please go ahead and apply RU12. To make your experience better, from applying patches perspective and overall AVDF deployment perspective, we did a lot of operational enhancement. We did many from server side, and we have done many from agent side as well. So server side, for example, system requirement pre-checks before you apply any ISO, giving you system alerts, proactive system alerts with email notification, your storage is going to fill, or so and so, and what would be the impact with that particular scenario. So something like that, we are letting you know how to fix that. So there are system alerts. We have revamped admin dashboard as well. We have changed default data retention policy. Another important part, what we have done is that trace file analyzer. That's a feature of database from the diagnostic perspective. And that's something we by default integrated with AVDF, enabled in AVDF, so that support will have better diagnostic, and we at least hope that closure time of any SR will reduce significantly. Another thing what we have introduced is out of place update with near zero downtime. So whenever you apply patch, your system is not available for certain period of during that update, but a lot of many of you ask near zero downtime for if you are applying any patch. So we came up with out of place update, which is more from the backup and recovery concept, where you can really plan and reduce your downtime significantly, or it would be a near zero downtime. From agent side, we have done a lot of updates, and I would say a lot of enhancement requests from customer side. So for example, we are giving downtime report that if at all agent went down, what was the time when agent came up. So a lot of auditors are asking for such a report. We introduced this report. There's a auto start of agent, so you don't need to really bother about agent start and stop, etc. We are giving a good detail of audit trail collections. For example, what time collection is started, if it is stopped or ideal status, all the detail and the timeline, so that you can share with your auditors. So these were more, I would say that many different customers, they requested for these enhancement when they went through different audits. Okay, and that's what the enhancement we have done here. We also introduce agent system alerts with email notification. So whenever trail goes down, you can get a system alert or email notification that your trail is not available. So you don't really need to come to the AVDF dashboard or somebody reporting that, oh, when you share that report with auditor and they say that, oh, the so-and-so time data is missing. So we introduce this feature so that you're proactively aware of whether the trail is running or not. So what are the key points for successful updates? There are do's and don'ts, and these are something I would say that whenever there is a SR escalated to me, mainly from update process. So I have found some of them or many of them, and I try to list down all those here. However, everything is quite well documented, okay? But sometimes, we don't really go and read documentation. We are used to of product like iPhone and MacBook, where you just power the button and everything is done. You don't really need to read manual, but AVDF is a complex solution. So reading documentation is important. It's key. So a lot of pre-update tasks as documented. You have to follow that before you start your update. Always take a backup. That's also important. Many scenarios, if customer has done something, which I will show you in don'ts, and then we say that, okay, you recover back, and we find that they don't have any good backup. So we don't want you to get into any such situation. So always take a backup. And if there is any customization, because AVDF, it runs on, customer has many different network topology, different combination of platform and the database, etc. So sometimes there's some customization done for their requirement. So if there is any, you need to preserve that, because that doesn't go forward with your update. Before you start your update, please check your HA status if you already have it. So that's very important part. And another part, what I have seen many times, that there is a pre-upgrade check, okay? Pre-upgrade RPM you need to run before applying your update patch ISO itself. So what happens, sometimes you get some issue, you go and fix it, and then you directly then go and run your update process, and then your update process fails somewhere. So every time before you start your update process, you need to run your pre-upgrade RPM first. So that means you might end up running pre-upgrade RPM multiple times if there are errors coming, right? Make sure once you stop getting error for your pre-upgrade RPM, then you apply your ISO. So during the update, there is a reboot, okay? And what happens many times, so you are supposed to do soft reboot. Do not power on and off the server. So that's because then your server is an ideal state, and then it won't come up. So don't do that. Other part is what you need to do is when update fails, many of customer I have seen, they say that they just rebooted the system. So it is not a laptop or mobile phone where if you face any issue, you reboot, you do the hard reboot, and things get fixed. Especially if you are during update process, if you do that, please don't do that. Please contact Oracle support, and we will help you there. Another part I have seen is that customer using utility like LV reduce, and they reduce any logical volume is there in the system, thinking that, oh, this is available, I just can assign somewhere else or something, and let me reduce this. Don't do that. There is a file structure. We follow that, and that's important from update perspective. And if you do that, your update will fail. So let it be whatever is there by default assigned by the system. So please don't do that. So these are some do's and don'ts that I would say that we try to list down from our experience perspective, depending on the SRs we are getting. Another important thing is that whenever you are applying patch and you feel that your workload has been changed and you plan to add more target going forward, between patches. So that's a good time to revise your sizing, okay, before you apply patch, so that if you want to add any resources, CPU, RAM, you do that. So that's a very good, I would say, point where you can revise size. There is a sizing guideline. Mouse note is available. You can scan this mouse note, and so that's available. Okay, so in summary, AVDF provides you a complete, not only database activity, just a database activity monitoring solution, but a complete database security posture when it comes to the database. So you start with assess and discovery of sensitive data, databases, privileged user, assess the security posture, define your audit policies, and monitor your activities, and start getting reports and alerts. And finally, when you know what to protect and prevent, you start putting your protection layer using database firewall. AVDF Live Lab, this is one of the most popular live lab under database security. It's available for you to try to use. If you want to experience 20.12, it is updated and available on 20.12. So you can just go and use it using green button, which is like resources allocated by Oracle, or you can use it using brown button, which means that you download .zip stack file and then deploy this complete demo or test, but that live lab, AVDF Live Lab, available in your own tenancy. So you can use that. I run Rich run database security office hour across data security solution. I did daily to 3 different time zones, that is APAC, EMEA, and LAD. So whichever time zone you have, you can subscribe to that one. And if there is a webinar scheduled, you can get notification for that, and you can, join that webinar. So you can scan this. With every release, we have a announcement blog where we say that what this feature is all about. So before you start applying your patch, very first step is that you can go through AVDF Live Lab. You can read through AVDF release note announcement blog, and then you go through the live lab, you can attend AVDF Cafe, and then finally deploy on your production system.
All right. Thanks, Nazia. Appreciate it. This is a GitHub link where I've got the notes and the patch IDs and all the information that we talked about today. Like Nazia and Russ said, live labs, database security office hours, and we have an ebook as well, Securing the Database, that talks about how we think about securing the Oracle database. So you can read through that, download that for free. And then hopefully we'll see you back next month on the August Database Security Office Hours on Wednesday, August 14th. So I think I'm talking Russ into coming back for that one here. So we'll get a presentation from Russ again next month. So.